Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who remembers in 2005, Andre 3000 had like a movie career going. And he was in two movies that year. One of them was John Singleton's underrated Four Brothers, and the other was this movie called Be Cool, which was fine. I sort of remember it, but what I mainly remember is a scene in the trailer in which Andre 3000 accidentally discharges a firearm. And he says, "You don't have to say nothing because I already know." And there's something about the way that he delivers that line that's stuck with me. I've altered the words in my head. You don't have to tell me because I already know. There's a certain exasperation that he feels that I've often felt like while being a parent. Like I feel like anytime my kids do something that they know they're not supposed to and I catch them, you don't have to tell me because I already know. The reason that I start off with that little anecdote about the sadly abandoned cinematic career of Andre 3000 is that I'm going to be reviewing his album, New Blue Sun. And if you've been watching my channel, you probably know what I'm going to say. I probably don't have to say nothing because you already know. Hopefully you understand that part of what this channel is about is not just listening to music and talking about it and making obscure references to 17th century philosophers. That's coming. It's really about art and about the importance that the art as a way of showing off human greatness, and the importance to protect art as made by artists, to not allow the never-ending churn of artist into content creator, artist into somebody who has to produce something that the audience wants and can consume in order to serve the machine. So the questions that I've been asking, and I asked this with the Danny Brown review I did a couple days ago. Thank you all for watching. And I will do that with the Drake review. It's funny because I put out a poll, and like 40% of the people wanted me to do Danny Brown. Like 35% wanted me to do Andre 3000. And poor Drake only got 5%. So I guess he's going to get his own meme. So I've asked this question. What is an artist's responsibility to their audience? And my argument in general is nothing, right? I don't think it's everything. I don't think an artist owes his audience his existence. I think if things work well and an artist makes art they want to make and an audience likes it, then all the better. But the second question is what happens when what that artist wants to do is at odds with what the fans want? Like what happens when the artist has a responsibility to themselves and that's at odds with what the audience wants? And fundamentally, they must serve their vision. And us as fans, we don't have to like everything. But we need to understand that if the vision doesn't fit with you, it's not that they're wrong, it's that you are just not capable of seeing them as the artist that they actually are. You have a vision of that artist, and it happens to be, through concrete evidence, you don't actually like that artist completely. And this goes to everything, okay? And so it could be with Andre 3000, you don't like Andre 3000 as an artist. Maybe you just like him as a rapper and a producer. In which case, fair enough. And that's part of what makes this interesting is when we're really thinking about this fight. And I think it's a fight for the human soul. I'm serious. Like I think what Andre 3000 is doing on this album by releasing this album and making it is one of the strongest possible declarations of humanity in an inhuman world that turns artists into content creators who have to feed the algorithm and deliver something predictable. I'm sorry, I had a flash forward to my Drake review. But he's different because he didn't just abandon being a rapper. We're talking about somebody who is consensus top 10 MC of all time, and quite often top 5. And I've heard him as high as 3, even 1 if the person who's talking to me happens to be from Atlanta in the 90s. And when you think about it, what is he missing to be a top 5, top 10, top 3, top 1 MC? Let's think about what goes into being a top MC. Skill, creativity, influence, and product, the depth of your catalog. And it's only on that last one that Andre 3000 really misses out. If you don't believe me, I've done some math for you. If we take some of the other traditional inhabitants of the top 5 lists, Andre 3000 has 422 songs on Rap Genius, which is a lot. But Biggie has 725. That's 300 more, and he died a long time ago. Kendrick, Mr. Recluse, Mr. Doesn't Talk About Anything, has 1,048 songs. Nas has 1,114. Tupac has 1,312. Jay-Z has 1,343 songs. And Eminem has 1,407. So it's particularly different when we have an MC of this stature who also hasn't released a proper album since the soundtrack to Idlewild, which also ended up ending his cinematic career. Although he did go on to advertise Gillette razors. That always bugged me. It's like, dude, you don't have to give us like music, but do you have to be a shill for Gillette? So, we have this feeling that we lost Andre 3000. And it's funny because Key and Peele did that very funny sketch where Keegan-Michael Key plays Andre 3000 and Jordan. Did I say Keegan-Michael Key? Yes. His last name is not Peele. And Jordan Peele plays Big Boy, and there's this image of Andre 3000 like dancing around and playing a flute. And in a way, that was the greatest service that could ever be done to Andre 3000, because that is essentially the image that I have when I think of Andre 3000. I don't even think of, the early videos, or I don't think of the Gillette commercial. I have that image of jumping around trying to get a coffee. But the sense that we have, and that we've had for a long time, so long that joke was made when Key and Peele was on the air, and that has been on the air a long time, is that we lost an MC. But that's why this album is great. This album is great because we did not lose an MC, we kept an artist. Now the album's called New Blue Sun, which is sort of like a trippy, what if the sun was blue and the sky was yellow kind of thing. Fine, that's fine. But I'd like to propose a different title for this album. I'd like to call it The Love Above. Okay? His last sort of real album was The Love Below with Outkast, and I think this is the love above, meaning the love above ground, the love where he's out of the sort of spiritual basement or dungeon, as we'll get to soon enough, and he is above ground, and I think that's how we have to really learn to appreciate him. I think it's interesting because the closest parallel I can think of is to Kendrick Lamar, who is changing and growing and whose style keeps changing and people have to come to terms with it. And really both of them seem like they're really pained by their status as greats, which who could blame them? Who would want to be a great? It must be terrible. And trying to find peace in this storm. So Kendrick, whatever, is fixing lowrider bikes or something and doesn't have a phone. And apparently Andre 3000 responds to the rigors of being a rap superstar, wants to live large with the cars, and just ends up learning how to practice flute and play flute. Something so far away from rap music as an instrument. I mean, with the exception of what? Sure Shot by Beastie Boys, rap and flute don't go super well together. Please feel free to tell me in the comments other good rap songs with flute in them. I'm sure there's been some. Now, maybe this was easier for me to appreciate, because I do appreciate New Blue Sun, and this is a positive review. I released a goof on my Instagram yesterday where I just played a flute. I played my baby daughter's flute, and pretended like that was my review. I do appreciate this album. I think it's good for what it is, and by that I mean I don't really know what it is, because this isn't the kind of music that I listen to, so as far as I can tell, it's good for what it is. But maybe it's easier for me because I don't even have a full appreciation of Andre 3000 as a rapper. Now, I really like his rap music. I listened to it a lot in the last, whatever. I remember listening to Outkast for the first time back in the fall of 1996. Okay, right around the time Tupac was killed, my college roommate played me At Leon's, or maybe it was the previous one, and I thought, this is too Southern. I didn't like it. I was like, what the hell are these guys talking about? Over time, my palate developed. So it's nice because I've mainly appreciated and come to love Andre 3000 from that point, from the perspective of here is a great person making art, not just as when he was his most popular. But, so I don't know. So maybe I've lost less in losing the MC by the fact that I was not as connected to him as an MC. But what is it that he's making? What is this, Reggie? What is this music? It's ambient jazz? That's what it says on Genius. That's its sort of technical category. But let's be real. Let's, as you kids say, keep it 100 or maybe 99. It's massage room music. You ever get in a massage? You ever get in? Have you ever had a massage? I don't like them. It's too vulnerable. But I've had a few massages in my life, and part of it is you sit in a room and you drink some coconut water. It's water where they just throw coconut in it, and you get changed into a little towel, and you go into a room, and there's like nice, calm music. Now it sounds like I'm dissing Andre 3000's album. I'm not. This is an interesting genre of music. It's an interesting genre of music because it is so rarely, as far as I know, listened to attentively, the same way that you would listen to a rap album where you're trying to pick up the words. There are certain musical elements which really stick out. The biggest one is the rain stick, which if you don't know, it's a big hollow stick that has like seeds in it, and you turn it over and it goes like if I just hear a rain stick, my muscles start to get relaxed, you know? And chimes and cymbals that grow to a crescendo. So if you have a cymbal, it's like, imagine that's the cymbal, you hit it, it goes, ksh, but if you kind of play it low, you go, it's a really nice sound. Gongs, lots of gongs in this album. And the overall mood is one of relaxation, one of perhaps transcendental meditation. You're supposed to listen to this music and tune out. I do have a favorite song in this genre. It's called Melon City by Dream Carpets. I found it once when I was giving a massage because I was trying to find good massage music. So have a listen. If you like Andre 3000, The New Blue Sun, check out Melon City by Dream Carpets. But fundamentally, I'm just not chill enough for this music. There's a reason I like rap music and rock and roll. I'm not chill. Meditation is... When I meditate, all I think about is how to not think. And I've gotten okay at it. I've really practiced it a lot. But that's it. If I don't constantly think about not thinking, I'm thinking. So, and I think our society, our culture, is not ready for this kind of music either. Let's be frank. We live in the Grindset, right? We live in a capitalist hellscape. Meditation and peace is not the goal. What we want, what is wanted, what is demanded of us, is that we can produce enough units of our labor to be efficient to the people who own that labor, okay? Whether that's myself as an employee of New York State and a professor, whether or not that's you working at Napa Auto Parts, being the most efficient version of yourself that you can be, or whether or not you are an artist. I need to deliver units of Professor Skye. Okay, that's what I need to deliver to you as well. I can't come out here and just do something else. You're not going to just... I tried doing something else over the summer. I almost lost all my viewers. You want units of Professor Skye, and we want units of Andre 3000. Now he said, you can have all the Andre 3000 units you want, but it doesn't do what you think it does. It does something else. You thought this was a car? This is a submarine. Maybe reverse that. You thought this was a submarine. This is a car. You're in the ocean. You want to hear hot like a million elephants, hot. And instead, you're not shaking like a Polaroid picture. You're okay. Let's think about this album in another way. Because, right, like, how cool is this? I'd like to say one thing for humanity. Humanity, you're doing a great job at not shitting on this album. Because I know there's been people who have complained about this album. But in general, the discourse around this album has been generally respectful of Andre 3000 as a human being who is following his muse. There are exceptions, but generally, we are doing better than I thought we would. Props to us for fighting the grind, the mindset that we know best and that we demand units of Andre 3000. There's another sort of element, though, where, like, if this is massage music, well, this is my favorite massage music ever. I like it even more than Dream Carpet, if you can believe it. And sort of reminds me of Kanye, who released my favorite gospel album. You know, like, did Kanye, in releasing Jesus as King, like, usurp all these other gospel musicians, you know, especially winning the Grammy? Or, contrarily, did he bring people into that genre who wouldn't normally be there? I know every single person who featured on that album, if I see that they're going to be playing a song, I'll have a listen to, was it Kirk Franklin? What was that guy's name? Kenny G? So for this, I think this might actually do something to enlarge the palette of rap fans. Because everyone's going to have a little listen, okay? You can't not listen to this at all. You can't just turn it right off. So my other alternate title is Wind is King. Man, my jokes are off today. Now, before I get into the album properly, I do need to mention his collaborator, a guy named Carlos Nino, who appears to be... I cannot get the image of Dr. Luther Sand out of my head. He appears like sort of like a new agey bearded figure. But it's fun because, I'm sorry, there's a hawk right out my window who like just picked up like a little like chipmunk. Sorry, I can't even show it to you, but I had this whole other drama happening right outside my window. Tell me in the comments if you've ever been eaten by a hawk. But this guy, Carlos Nino, I just did some research and listened to some of his other music. And definitely this is an important collaborator because the difference between this and what I heard with the Carlos Nino album is primarily just the flute. So if you do like this, if you find some solace in this, if you find this music interesting, if you believe that it's music, you believe it has a point, it's worth checking out Carlos Nino's other ambient jazz. It's also kind of funny, right? Like, he had to find a big boy, right? He had to find someone else to make this music with. So let me give you a stamp. Let me give you an example song. Before I do, if you don't know, if you leave the letters AVAA in a comment, I will always heart that comment. I'm not at 100%, but I'm close to it. Smash the like bucket, subscribe, to tell me that I'm funny and that you've been eaten by a hawk. If you want to make me feel better. I think that's everything I have to say. My Patreon's doing pretty well. I'm having fun with the chat function there. So the thing about this album is he almost went full ambient. I'm tempted to quote Robert Downey Jr. from Tropic Thunder, but I don't understand the cancel rules on that character. But you never go full ambient. You never go full jazz. He gave us album title, song titles. He gave us some words, something to hold on to. If he was going full ambient, it would be song 1, song 2, song 3, song 4, song 5, done, right? Just give you absolutely nothing. So what I think is interesting is that there is a song on this album that's different than the rest. You might listen to it and go, okay, rain sticks and flute of a kind and no, there's a song that actually has a narrative. It's called That Night in Hawaii When I Turned Into a Panther and Started Making These Low Register Purring Tones That I Couldn't Control. Shit was wild. Click next to Picasso. That's a painting by Picasso. Picasso is one of those artists, by the way, who was able to follow his own muse and change the culture after he does. So if you want to hear that song, you can hear that song. The thing is, this is basically a narrative. It has a beating drum. There are growling sounds. According to something I read, it's like about a story when he was on ayahuasca, some kind of drug. But there's like this flute throughout and growls throughout. There's a kind of rhythmic consistency that you can almost dance to at the 3-minute mark. And so this is, I think, if you want to get into this album, this is the entry point. Because for at least one song, you can hear it and you can imagine Andre 3000 on all fours walking around in a pineapple field. They go on trees. Are there pineapple fields? There have to be. Wandering around in a pineapple field, eating Spam, and pretending to be a tiger, a panther. So that's the soundtrack to this. The rest of the album is not quite as literal. Now, the first track is called I Swear I Really Wanted to Make a Rap Album, but this is literally the way the wind blew me this time. It's weird how he phrased that. It sounds like the wind performed fellatio on him, the way he said that, the way the wind blew me this time. But obviously he's talking that this is just the direction that he went. And I like this because it is a real conversation with his fans. I don't think he's trolling. I think he means it. I think he means that he wanted to make a rap album, but this is just what he wanted to do. And I almost feel like we're being tested. This is my theory. I feel like we're being tested. If we listen to this album, we take it seriously, and maybe he'll bless us with a full 3 Stacks album. I'm talking production. I'm talking rapping. I'm talking Outkast reunion, I'm talking like That Life of a Party verse, but for a whole album. At times this song could be kind of rapish. Has kind of like an organ sound, some cool repeated sounds on a synthesizer, those chimes and the rain stick. It has nice movement. It's weird. The credits are so hard to read. Like on that other song I discussed, there's like pedal steel, a pedal steel guitar listed. I don't know. And he's like not listed as playing flute on any of these albums, any of these songs, but I know he's playing flute all over the place. But there's so much going on here that is done by Carlos Nino, where I really think he is doing a ton of the work here. And I mean, realistically, this is an Andre 3000 and Carlos Nino album, but everyone would just say, who's that? Now, in a GQ interview, Andre 3000 said this: "I'm 48 years old. And not to say that age is a thing that dictates what you rap about, but in a way it does. And things that happen in my life, like, what are you talking about? I gotta go get a colonoscopy. What are you rapping about? My eyesight is going bad. You can find cool ways to say it, but..." But what? God damn it, yes, Andre. You're telling me you can't do it? One of the top MCs of all time can't find an interesting way to talk about aging? Danny Brown talked about aging 2 days ago. He did it super interestingly, and I love Danny Brown, and he's great. But he's not you. Jay-Z talks about aging in a pretty interesting way. Kendrick Lamar does it. Hell, last week A$AP Rock does a lot of great work on aging. Have you heard A$AP Rock's song about his back hurting? 1 to 10? You trying to tell me that you couldn't do a song about your colonoscopy? I need to get a colonoscopy. That's a tough time in life. But the doctor told me I have to get ready. My channel's going to go dark at some point. You'll know why. You know, my eyesight. You think I don't think about these glasses? I needed these glasses when I turned 45. Eyesight was perfect, and then I got these. Every single time I put them on, I think about dying. Do you understand that? Every single time I put these on, I think about my father having a bad back and bad eyes, and I think about being put 6 feet underground. And I'm not creative. I'm not the kind of creative that Andre 3000 is. So I accept this sentence that he says as a challenge to himself. I think he's going to read himself saying, I don't know how to rap about being old. I'm only Andre 3000. What do I know about rapping? And that he's then going to put out the next great rap album about aging. That's the hope. The next track is the slang word pussy rolls off the tongue with far better ease than the proper word vagina. Do you agree? Funny title. I like the fact that it's a funny title because he's giving us permission to laugh. Because the whole thing is like, dude, you're playing a flute? Like, nobody doesn't look goofy playing a flute. Okay? It's goofy. Is this a good year or a bad year for flutes? You got Lizzo, and you got Under 3000. Tell me in the comments, it's a good year for flutes. Even if it's a controversial talk, this is a great year for flutes and people who play flutes, which, true story, are called flautists. But this song is least interesting. I'm happy to hear that he's joking. It gives a certain air of lightness to the whole project, that he has a whole thing about this slang word. I do agree, by the way, it does roll off the tongue with far better ease. It doesn't make it a better word. But it's sort of maybe the least interesting, the most meditative, kind of lots of loud and quiet bits. Then we get to the stand. Then we get to bipolar disorders. Daughter wears a 3000 button down embroidered. Don't quite understand who that is, who they're referring to. Gongs and attacking flute sounds. A little bit different here. There's some slightly consistent rhythms that kind of punctuate things from time to time. The next song is another goofy track, 93 Till Infinity and Beyonce. So this is a play on 93 Till Infinity, the Souls of Mischief album, which has had this crazy resurgence, I guess because of TikTok. I don't know what. God bless that. I bought that album when it came out in 93, and I never thought I'd ever hear it again. Now my daughter loves it. And then Infinity and Beyond is from the Toy Story movie, and instead of Beyond, it's Beyonce. I think it's just goofing around. A very short song, more layers. Next track is Gandhi, Dalai Lama, Your Lord and Savior, JC, Bundy, Jeffrey Dahmer, and John Wayne Gacy. What? I guess this is sort of like a commentary on humanity, that we're all capable of being like gods and we're capable of being devils, I suppose. I don't know. The flute's maybe the most interesting here, sort of like a Philip Glass for babies, sort of like a easy arpeggio that he's playing here. I really like the synthesizer. This is probably my second favorite track on the album. Lots of gongs. When you buy a gong, that just means you're going to have a lot of gongs in your music. This seems to be like a female voice doing some vocalizing, a little bit discordant. Maybe I like this song because this is one song you don't want a massage to. Not just because it references John Wayne Gacy. In general, I find when giving a massage, it's better not to mention any sort of cannibal or serial killer. Certainly not under your breath consistently for an hour straight. But like, it sort of ruins the mood. Like, this track has a certain amount of discord to it. Next track is called Ants to You, Gods to Whom. Well, it's actually called Gods to Who, but come on, Andre. It should be to whom, all right? Object of preposition. You know this, Andre. I know what you're up to. I don't know, but I'm just going to do it. I said I'd be talking about 17th century philosophy, so I'm going to be reading out of one of my favorite textbooks here, 17th century French literature from France, from Pascal, Les Deux Infinis, Disproportion of Man. So what exactly is, I'm translating in real time here, Enfin, qu'est-ce qu'un homme dans la nature? So what in the end is a man in nature? Nothing in regard to the infinite. Everything in regard to nothingness. A middle in between nothing and everything. Infinitely elongated from understanding the extremes. The end of things and their principles are for him invincibly hidden in an impenetrable secret. So this is his writing about essentially saying that that we are now capable of understanding how infinitely big the universe is, and then how infinitely small they are with microscopes and telescopes. And that's really what I think this song is about. You know, like ants to you, gods to whom? So ants are someone's gods, and we are the gods of ants. Nice. It seems almost like a theremin sound here. I don't know. Dreams once buried beneath a dungeon floor slowly sprout out into undying gardens. I think this must be a reference to The Dungeon, the house in Atlanta where Outkast started. And I like this image because it's as though this is the realization, right? Like, why do you become an artist? Do you become an artist to have money and to make money and to have a Cadillac and to be absolutely pimpalicious? Is that your goal? Is it domination? Well, maybe. But his goal, apparently, is peace. So we have a guitar and a flute and rain sticks. I really like the guitar work on here, especially the way it interacts with the flute. I bet this would be fun to watch in concert, or at least interesting. But we end up sort of having this ending statement about, like, the dungeon floor, the floor of the studio where he started out. You know, that these dreams were buried under hip-hop, buried under the expectations of what he would make. And now those dreams are sprouting, and now he gets to be in an undying garden of making this beautiful music underneath the pale blue sun. So, I'm happy. I'm happy this exists. I will probably listen to it again. You know, it's not like it's going to be on like permanent rotation because I'm not chill enough to enjoy to listen to this music on it. My Grindset is way too Sigma, but I think it's good, and I think he's doing a good thing for culture and society by making it. All right. Don't have to tell me because I already know. If you haven't seen those movies, by the way, do a little Andre 3000 film festival. He was really onto something there. Just his voice. That's the other thing. His voice is so charismatic. It's a bummer that we're losing it, but maybe we'll get it back. All right. Till next time. There's the camera.